Evening. I call this council to order. Mrs. Knight, please call the roll.
Mrs. Oda?
Here.
Mr. Tremblay?
Here.
Mr. Heath?
Here.
Mr. Swazer?
Here.
Mrs. Snee?
Here.
Mr. Kendall?
Here.
Mr. Phillips?
Here.
Mr. Twilliger?
Here.
Mr. Twist?
Move to excuse Mr. Twist.
Second.
It's been moved by Mrs. Snee and seconded by Mr. Kendall to excuse Mr. Twist. Mrs. Knight, please call the roll.
Mr. Tremblay?
Yes.
Mr. Heath?
Yes.
Mr. Swazer?
Yes.
Mrs. Snee?
Yes.
Mr. Kendall?
Yes.
Mr. Phillips?
Yes.
Mr. Twilliger?
Yes.
Mrs. Oda?
Yes.
Mr. Twist is excused.
Mrs. Knight, please read the notice of the special meeting.
Notice a special meeting of the City Council to all members of Council. You are hereby notified that there will be a special meeting of the City Council of the City of Troy, Ohio, Council Chambers in said city, Monday, the 25th day of April, 2016 at 5:30 p.m. for the purpose of considering R 2020-16, accepting the report of the fact finder concerning the City of Troy and AFSCME, Ohio Council 8, and declaring an emergency. The meeting is called by Council President Baker pursuant to Rule 25 of the Troy City Council Rules for Procedure. Pass this around to be signed.
Thank you. Are there any committee reports from any of the committees this evening? Are there any comments from the citizens regarding the agenda items this evening? There is a 2-minute time limit at this point in the meeting, and Mr. Kerber is our timekeeper. Seeing none then, Mrs. Knight, please read Resolution R20, 2016.
Resolution number R20, 2016, resolution accepting the report of the fact finder concerning the City of Troy and AFSCME, Ohio Council 8, and declaring an emergency. This legislation accepts the fact finder's report dated April 20, 2016. First reading.
Are there any questions from council?
Move for suspension. Second.
It's been moved by Mr. Kendall and seconded by Mr. Tremblay to suspend the rules. Mrs. Knight, please call the roll.
Mr. Heath?
Yes.
Mr. Swazer?
Yes.
Mrs. Snee?
Yes.
Mr. Kendall?
Yes.
Mr. Phillips?
Yes.
Mr. Twilliger?
Yes.
Mrs. Oda?
Yes.
Mr. Tremblay?
Yes. Move for adoption. Second.
It's been moved by Mr. Kendall and seconded by Mr. Schweizer to adopt the resolution. Mrs. Knight, please call the roll.
Mr. Swazer?
Yes.
Mrs. Snee?
Yes.
Mr. Kendall?
Yes.
Mr. Phillips?
Yes.
Mr. Twilliger?
Yes.
Mrs. Oda?
Yes.
Mr. Tremblay?
Yes.
Mr. Heath?
Yes.
Resolution is adopted.
That completes the business of this meeting. The meeting is now adjourned.
I'm leaving.
Yeah. It is April 25th. This is a meeting, a joint meeting of the council, the park board, and the recreation board. We have a presentation this evening by Mr. Dave Minton, I believe, and he's the treasurer of Troy Junior Baseball, representing Operation Recreation Levy Committee. Mr. Minton?
My name is Steve Felton, and I'm an executive officer on the Troy Junior Baseball Board. I reside at 908 Brantford, so I'm a city folk, and I really enjoy the opportunity to be here. The presentation was sent to me by email, so I'm going to use iPhone technology to pretty much read verbatim. Is that fair?
That's fine. Whatever you wish to do.
Let me pull it up. And I'll start at the beginning. Would that be appropriate? Okay. To the City of Troy, the Board of Park Commissioners, President Alan Capers, Recreation Board President Martin Hobart, and City Council President Martha Baker. We, the Operation Recreation 2020 Levy Committee, come before you this evening to request the Board of Parks Commission support and recommend to the City Council of Troy legislation regarding a park levy for the improvement and enhancement of existing and new facility projects within the City of Troy park system. To put before the voters of the city of Troy the question of a park levy in the amount of 2 mil or less to generate 8 mil for the items outlined in attachment 1 of this letter. Hopefully all we'll make provisions for you to have. The levy would be for the duration of 10 years and sunsetting at the end of that term. At the 2.0 mils requested level, the cost to the voter would be approximately $70 per 100K of property valuation. We are looking to partner with the City of Troy in financing and supporting these park projects. The Operation Recreation 2020 Levy Committee is committed to raising our target of $4 million. We look at this as the Hobart model of fundraising in this public-private sector endeavor. We represent the following organizations: Troy Junior Baseball, Midwest Ohio Baseball, Troy Christian High School, Troy High School Softball Organization, Troy Junior Trojans Baseball, Troy Post 43, and Troy TL Boosters Incorporated, Troy Soccer Club, Troy Senior Services Center, and Miami Shores Golf Course. What a wonderful group of people, yes? A beautiful landscape for sure. That's my comments. We all have a strong support base of adults and children of all abilities represented in the organization identified above. We all have related and diverse needs related to parks property in the city of Troy. We cannot stress enough the comprehensive nature of this park's renovation and enhancement to existing and new facilities. Open space, renovated facilities, organized fields of play for a variety of users and ages are integral for the overall health of our community and the heart of activities for thousands of residents and visitors in this outstanding community. All of the diverse and inclusive amenities provided by the City of Troy work as an economic development tool in addition to the pride residents feel in the community. Here is a brief outline from each organization describing what this means to them. Troy Junior Baseball, which I proudly represent, is a 30-year-old baseball organization that touches over 540 kids, ranging in age from 5 to 14 years of age on 48 teams. It's a wonderful thing. There are approximately 500 league games each season, depending on their troubles with high water at the 25A and Eldine Road facility. All but 2 schools in Miami County are represented on the various teams with Troy Junior Baseball. Typically around 4,000 kids, adults, grandparents, and spectators will either attend or participate on some level with baseball through Troy Junior Baseball each year. Troy Junior Baseball experiences 10 to 15 days of rainouts each year, excluding seasons that have been wiped out altogether. Troy Junior Baseball has come to the point of being cut off from regular funding sources due to the constant and recurring repair or replacement of fields or infrastructure due to the flooding of their facility. By moving the Troy Junior Baseball operation to the Duke Park, we will be able to focus on the mission of Troy Junior Baseball, of coaching and developing kids without the further stress and financial strain of the facility repair aforementioned year after year. Troy Junior Baseball looks forward to the partnership, key term, with the City of Troy, park maintenance staff, and other members of the baseball community as a safe and beautiful addition to the City of Troy park system. So Troy Junior Baseball has struggled, as we all are aware, and that partnership team term is vital, and we look forward to embracing that opportunity. Midwest Ohio Baseball and other groups bring local, state, and nationwide tournaments to our city. This is vital to traveling and select league sports groups for large-scale events. This not only showcases the City of Troy and our surroundings, but is a great addition for local motels, restaurants, and other businesses, directly and indirectly, as an economic development tool for our Chamber of Commerce and Tourist Bureau. Troy Christian High School has also had their difficulties with water flooding. They are adjacent neighbors to us, so obviously so, at their property on 25A and Eldine Road. In addition, they will be losing their fields in the near future, and we are committed to contributing to this project. Troy Christian High School usually has junior varsity and varsity baseball, varsity softball, and a teener league team using these fields. There are approximately 35 games throughout the spring and summer, in addition to the practices by all teams. A few more to share. Troy High School softball normally has varsity, junior varsity, and freshman teams each year. Approximately 65 players per season from 7th grade through high school run through the program, with approximately 130 families involved locally. The season is 119 days plus 4 weeks of off-season camps and general instruction. The Troy High School softball organization plays teams from Lima to Cincinnati and Columbus to Indiana. A facility to accommodate all of the team play with all of the organizations in this project will enhance and assist in growing our organizations and provide an outstanding asset to the city of Troy. Troy Junior Trojans baseball serves 100 families per season, exclusively from the Troy City School District. Local and tournament play includes teams from the greater Dayton area. 6 of the 9 teams play on 2 fields, which have caused scheduling conflicts with the 70-game season, not including rain days. Troy Junior Trojans baseball fully support this project for a variety of reasons, from economic benefit to Troy, ease the pressure of playing fields, and as an absolute benefit to the city of Troy. Troy Post 43 baseball, T.I Baseball Boosters Incorporated. I'm not sure the acronym definition. We'll try to fill that blank in if needed. Thank you, sir. Our Legion directly provides baseball for 60 players, 3 teams, ages 14 to 18. Besides providing exposure for talented youngsters, true, to compete and pursue baseball at the college level, the organization sponsors 8 to 10 baseball and softball tournaments annually at the Duke Park venue. These tournaments involve hundreds of boys and girls of all ages from all over Ohio and the Midwest. The T.L Baseball Boosters sponsor 4 leagues in the fall for boys and girls ranging in age from 8 to the big guys, 18, and typically involve nearly 200 participants. Troy Post 43 Baseball, T.L Baseball Boosters Incorporated, as well, support this much-needed project. Troy Trojan Soccer Club is dedicated to providing a positive environment for developing individual as well as team-based soccer skills. This is done by providing a variety of soccer experiences, extending from a social game environment to the highest competitive level match play available in the area. In addition to fostering a love of soccer, our club goals are to instill in our youth the life lessons needed in adulthood through the teaching of responsibility, sportsmanship, fair play, and hard work. Troy Soccer Club was established in 1985 and currently fields teams in the under 8 to 17 age groups, both boys and girls. Teams play at various levels. We are currently competing in the Miami Valley Youth Soccer Association and BPYSL leagues. Troy Senior Service Center. Troy Senior Citizen Center is dedicated to providing education, socialization activities, and self-enrichment for our members and other senior citizens. We want to improve quality of life and keep the body and mind active. We are in need of some capital improvements, roof replacement, exterior siding, foundation drainage, sidewalks and curbing, parking lot resurfacing, modest interior renovations with screens for windows and doors, 2 areas of carpet, ceiling tiles, and the shuffleboard area restored. Gotta love the detail, don't you? Outstanding. Miami Shores would be greatly enhanced by the development of a complex driving range and clubhouse renovation. Miami Shores Golf Course opened in 1949. It has been the home golf course for approximately 275 season pass holders and hundreds of daily fee players for many years. The clubhouse is in need of an upgrade. The infrastructure has deteriorated to the point where electrical outlets are no longer safe. More space is needed for storage, and the need for new HVAC system is necessary. With the upgrade, improvement, and a more modern look, the clubhouse would become a place where patrons would be proud to take their families and guests for breakfast, lunch, or dinner. It would also enhance and create a positive appearance. Miami Shores Golf Course has never had a driving range. The need for a new driving range is now more important than ever because of the need to help grow the game of golf. We have many new people, adults and juniors, who would like to learn to play golf, count me in, but have few facilities that have the practice areas with a place to teach these new customers. Also, our current golfers and high school golf teams have nowhere to conveniently practice and hone their skills. A driving range will also attract new golf events, like high school golf team, local, district, and state tournaments. All corporate and fundraising golf events like to have a driving range available for warming up. More importantly, the driving range would also be another revenue source. And I believe I have a section here, stakeholder representation and organization. Should that be read to the record? Be glad to do so. It lists Dave Minton, Troy Junior Baseball Treasurer, and he is standing committee member, and I represent him in his absence while on business travel today. Wade Westfall, Midwest Ohio Baseball President. Jeff Sakal, hopefully I've said that right, Troy Christian High School Director of Athletics. William Welke, Troy Junior Trojans Baseball. Scott Beeler, Troy High School Softball. Irvin Frosty Brown, Troy Post 43 Baseball and TL Baseball Boost Incorporated, head coach and chairman. Casey Hubble, Troy Soccer Club president. Tamara Bernard Ganger, Troy Senior Services Center executive director. And Gary Weaver, Miami Shores executive committee president. More detail?
I think it's important to point out some of the financials.
Okay. We have them listed here, so
Good.
I'll further on.
All right.
Okay, thank you. Itemized project descriptors. Duke Park improvements, 11.2. Anticipate the units million. I'm new to this. Okay. Duke Park North developments, 9 baseball fields plus infrastructure. Duke Park South developments, 3 full-size soccer fields plus infrastructure. And Duke Park maintenance building. That, once again, listed at $11.2 million. Senior Citizens Center, $100,000. Roof replacement, exterior siding, foundation drainage, sidewalks and curbing, doors and windows, interior renovations, parking lot resurfacing, shuffleboard courts, Miami Shores Golf Course, $1.5 million, clubhouse and land, parentheses, not golf course renovations, driving range. I've come across tabulated information, and I don't have good resolution on my iPhone device here. It is very detailed. I think, Ms. Baker, if I would have opportunity to potentially submit this.
Mrs. Knight has a copy there for you if you would like to use that.
Wonderful. Let me see how I can best address this. Some of this I've gone over. Give me just a second.
I think maybe if you could give us the grand totals at the bottom under each column,
Be glad to.
because you did go over the
Some of it.
the breakout on your explanation
Okay.
prior to this. So if you want to just give us that grand total and what each of those funds represent.
I will. I appreciate that opportunity. I'm going to go from left to right at the bottom row. Grand total cost is the column header, $14,300,000. Next column over, city funds, straight down to grand total of $1.86 million. City percentage is indicated as 13.01%. Next column, third column in, grants and foundations. Grand total, $940,000. And I show a G&F percentage. I'm not sure what that acronym's for. The percentage amount is 6.57%. Private pledges, middle column. Grand total, $4 million. Private percentage contribution, best said, 27.97%. Subtotal non-levy, grand total, $6.8 million. Non-levy percentage, 47.55%. And levy proceeds indicate grand total at $7.5 million, and the levy percentage at 52.45%. There's additional information down here, Ms. Baker. Would you like me to read that to the record?
No, I think we're fine with that.
Very good.
Everyone has a copy of that. I think we will field some questions here. We don't expect you necessarily to have all the answers.
That's fine.
If there's anyone here with you that you want to call on to provide an answer for us, fine. I will ask Mr. Titterington and Mrs. Knight if you could please take some notes as far as questions are concerned, in case there's any of them that will require a later answer. I'm going to kick off with just a couple of questions, and then we'll begin, and we'll just go around the tables and try to answer any questions that any of us have here on the different committees. You're showing $400,000 in private pledges and about $940,000 in grants. Is there any of that that's already been received and banked?
The only awareness that I have is the Kiwanis Club gave us a kickoff contribution of $30,000, and I may be crossing boundary conditions here, but that was made to the Miracle League of Miami Valley. So if that's inclusive within this, I don't know, but I raised it up for consideration.
Okay, and what happens to the money if the goals are not reached, or if we don't have?
Well, that answer I don't know. Obviously, we have to make provisions for that contingency. And Ms. Baker, if you would, if someone's raising their hand behind me, maybe you could call on and I'll stand
Okay,
on that.
right,
Nice
okay.
protocol.
All right. Mr. Frigge.
President Baker, if I may address that question, Mr. Phillips and I are both on the Miracle League Board of Directors. We have talked about this, and we don't know exactly what that $30,000 that the Kiwanis Club donated will end up being used or given back. There was also a $30,000 donation from the Troy Foundation, which is in the same situation. We don't know what will happen with that at this point.
Okay. Thank you. I'm going to start with council members. Mr. Heath, do you have questions at this point?
Yes, Madam President. I think the big question that I've got right now is there was some damage done to the senior center recently. I believe a vehicle hit it and did some different damage. Are those repairs going to be in this, or is that being handled separately?
Separately.
Is that, I'm seeing separate? Okay, perfect. I think that's all I had at this time.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Phillips, questions?
I don't have any questions at the time, but I will, just by way of clarification, I think everyone is aware, but I am the president of the Miracle League of the Miami Valley, which is a nonprofit 501c3 organization. We're not mentioned in any of the documentation here because we are looking, well, we have always looked to be exempt or outside of levy money, that it would not come into our organization and we would not accept it. That our part of this project, which is not listed in here, but has been talked about, and several of the folks in here that are in the know with the project as it came from MSA, know the costs that our field would cost, and that our money was going to all be raised privately.
And is that private funding included in the numbers that we're looking at here?
No, that $940,000 is inclusive of $300,000 grants, if you will, from the Duke Foundation and the Robinson Foundation. $240,000, I believe, came from ODNR for the Parks property that was spun off of the 117-acre total.
Mr. Schweizer?
Yes, Madam President, I have just a few questions. Where did the estimates for the three projects come from? Did they come from consultants? How was that number arrived at?
My understanding is that the select organization's input was one driver, and where they attained consulting information, I think it would have commingled into their presentation. I can't speak to certainty what those activities were.
But from the Troy Junior Baseball, we wanted to try to get a reasonable understanding presented to the leadership team here assembled.
My concern comes in that when we allocated the funds for Hobart Arena, we had to go back and reallocate because the cost of labor and materials had gone up drastically.
Sure.
And so if these are good numbers here, then I'm comfortable with the answer, but I just want to make sure that we have the right number.
Yeah. I'm hard to speak to that.
Mr. Titterington, did you have a comment to that?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Swayzer, as you can see, there are several components to this, all of which are estimates at this point. The largest part of this project being the Duke North development, as well, I guess all of the Duke Park estimates were done as part of last year when the Hills Camp farm was purchased. At the same time, then we contracted with MSA Consultants to do some preliminary design work and give us some estimates, some preliminary layouts. That's where Mr. Felton is talking about. We had several stakeholders that met and give us some input as to what they felt an appropriate complex would look like. We took it to the architect that we were using, and they came up with a range, and the numbers that you see here in the mid part of that range. Our expectation is that, if all these goals are hit, levy passes, we take it out to bid, and if we have to scale things back or look at other resources, we'll have to report it back to you. But as confident as we can be at this point, those estimates are at least put together from somebody else. They're not just pie in the sky that we put together. As far as the Senior Citizen Center numbers, that was some discussions that we had with their leadership and city staff. Mr. Drake gave us some estimates based on the needs that they have, since he's very familiar with the building and its needs. The Miami Shores Golf Course, we have engaged in a different architect to assess in detail the needs there, but as a preliminary number, a conservative number, that's the number that we're using there. So if there are any numbers that have the least amount of confidence, relatively speaking, it would be the golf course number, the clubhouse number, but we continue to work that through, and again, we would scale back the project based on the resources that we have.
Okay. Regarding the driving range, do we have a pro forma on if it's going to make money or how we look to make money on that?
We've done a couple of pro formas over the last 5 years, depending on the cost of equipment and how we can dovetail that into the existing operations. It is, depending on the estimates that you use for utilization, it is either close to breaking even or it does make a little bit of profit.
Do we have an idea of how many people are actually going to use the driving range, or?
Just based on Mr. Green's understanding of that market, that's why he's given us 2 or 3 different scenarios, very aggressive to very conservative.
Mr. Tremblay, questions?
I don't have a specific question at this time.
Okay. Mr. Kendall?
Patrick, along with the golf course, we're still looking, it would be that lane coming in beside Rutherford Drive there to the left? Is that what we?
Yes.
And how, now city owns that property, right?
That's correct.
Okay. How far back, do we own any of those fields then behind?
We own that field back to the tree line.
Okay. So we already have the property available then for it?
We do. It's
All
not a perfect rectangle.
Right.
There are a couple of small residential lots that are along State Route 55.
Okay. Thank you.
Mrs. Zoda, questions?
Yeah, I don't know if I have any questions, I just have a comment, I guess. This is the first time, when we got this packet, the first time I've ever heard of Operation Recreation 2020. And this is all of a sudden, we've got this committee that we've never heard of and a huge levy being proposed. And Troy Junior Baseball is presenting, and they're not even listed as one of the, well, I see they're part of that committee, but when you look at the operation, all the money that's being requested, it's for 3 different things. It's Duke Park, Senior Citizen Center, and the Miami Shores Golf Course. That's all city stuff. So I'm not sure how this committee, I mean, they may want all this stuff, but I'm not sure why they are presenting a levy for city property.
I'm not sure how to answer that, other than they are the stakeholders. They are the ones that use that property the most. They have their vested interest, primarily. Let's talk about the baseball operations.
So the
There's
city just
several
kind
of
of
them
passed
that
it
are
to
out
them
there.
and said,
Well,
"Come
they
up
are
with
out in
all of
new
them"?
fields, and so we've purchased the Hewells camp to set that stage for them, for future development of that area. So they've come back to us and they've said, well, we want to support, we want to market, they want to do the work related to putting a levy on the ballot for November. But only the council can pass the legislation to get that onto the ballot, and that's why they're coming to you to ask you to do that.
So who did all the work getting all of these quotes?
Well, as I mentioned to Mr. Swayzer, we did that as part of our due diligence, first and foremost, on the Hewells Camp property. Once we purchased that, the next step then is, okay, so what would preliminary plans look like for a complex? And that's where we engaged MSA Architects.
And am I the only one who's not heard of this committee before?
No.
It's a relatively recent committee. Mr. Phillips can talk. I mean, it hasn't been in the works for months.
No, it's the committee has only met twice, I believe. It's come out of all of these targets or these projects and coalesced them into one entity, if you will, as a grassroots effort to accomplish everything with one financing, I guess, if you will. It's city-owned property. Anything that any organization, a private organization on the outside that would propose a build on city property, once it was built or financed by a private group, that would become a part of the city. I mean, it's city property. So it's a partnership regardless of how you go. And since the city does own the property, there's a lot of controlling interest that the city has, that the organizations don't have that control to go out to bid and request some things. Council and other organizations, Parks Board, have those parameters. And that's why, again, as Mr. Turner said, the grassroots effort is supporting the partnership and with all of these different items into one group so that they can come as a group and request from the Parks Board and then the City Council as a whole to consider that and letting the citizens of our city vote on this matter.
Would have been nice for council to have heard of this committee before we got this packet 2 days ago. And the Miracle League is not part of this?
We are, from the standpoint in that we would be, our goal, Miracle League's goal is always to provide access to a handicap accessible baseball field for those that need it. However, the secondary issue of that is partnering with a Little League-ish organization so that the complete experience of baseball, the family can go to one location, that nobody is excluded, everybody feels a part of the family. So we are involved from that standpoint in being included in the same area as a Little League baseball
But the
organization.
numbers for the Miracle League field are not included in
Correct.
these numbers?
That money is to be raised by Miracle League in conjunction with working with Troy
But it
Junior
would be
Baseball.
part of the overall plan?
Yes, yes.
That's it. I just would have liked to have been able to digest some of this before tonight.
Mrs. Snee?
I don't have any specific questions. I'm just, are we going to hear from?
I'm going to have anyone ask you.
I don't have any.
Mr.
this time.
Terwilliger, any questions this evening?
I have a couple. As I look at the chart on the far wall, the fields to the top side of that chart, that's the designate fields north.
Yes.
Fields
those
south, where are they? Is that
fields
the Legion
south. No, that would
and
be-
Soccer
Teener
field.
Field?
No, Duke
South
Park,
is-
Duke Park South development on this chart refers to the soccer
Okay.
fields, and those are on this side. One of the
Okay.
plaques on the-
Got it. So in between, when we talk about the Legion and the Teener Field, is their funds covered by this infrastructure amount?
If I might add to that, in discussing with Frosty Brown and his wife Connie, they're in an emotional support position, coming from the baseball populace. There are no improvements to their fields or any direct benefit, if you will, of money from this levy or private donations.
None would go to the Legion Field or the Teener Field?
Correct. There's nothing identified in any.
Well, however, in this first part, Duke Park infrastructure is $400,000 estimated, and that would perform some improvements to current Duke Park, some curb work, replacement of the parking lot lights, those kind of things, so that it all comes together and it will fix up some of the issues there.
Troy Junior Baseball, what do you plan to do with the land, the swamp?
That is to be determined. I don't have the authority at this point in time or understanding of that board's position. I believe it would have to be discussed within the Troy Junior Board ranks and understand what our policy position to that question would be.
Does the Operation 2020 have an individual or a group assigned for fundraising or, for grant or scholarship monies?
Not that I'm aware of. Troy Junior Baseball is made up of volunteers within the community. So we try to deliver the best product to the baseball landscape to serve the youth of the city of Troy and outlying areas. So we need to understand from our perspective, does it work best for the children at large? And if the answer is yes, then we obviously get behind it as much financially, state-wise that we can.
Mr. Terwilliger, if I may answer.
Mr. Phillips?
Yes, there is an account opened at the Troy Foundation that can accept grants and donations.
But is there an individual or a group of individuals who could scour state funds, national funds, to find out if there are additional monies to help this type of project?
I believe that's going to be part of the fundraising committee that Mr. Jim Taylor is assisting that group with.
Okay.
And we would provide resources as available from our organization to help support that.
In the driving range, visually I've lost it. We're there at the road at
55.
Well, no, we're down Rutherford Drive. That's the name of it.
Right.
There's the flat plateau. We're now hitting east towards what used to be the Teener ball fields.
Right.
And there is a tree line just behind those once fields. Does the city property end at that plowed field behind it, or are we out in there?
I believe it ends there, doesn't it?
I thought we owned all the way to the old river.
We can check on that and and get back with you with aerials.
I think we go to Yeah, we farm it, somebody farms it for us, but I think we own all of it, the river, there's the old river channel.
Okay. That's it.
Okay,
Madam President, I have one other question.
sure.
With this additional land, both at the golf course and out at Duke Park, is the park department capable of maintaining all that land?
Madam President?
You may, Mr.
Yeah.
Cappers.
Thanks.
What's going to happen is a couple things. Number one, that we're taking a look at all these stakeholders coming into play on the maintenance issues. Okay, who's going to pay for the maintenance? How is that going to be allocated? There's a lot of questions that are going to have to be answered before we have a final product. And one of those final product answers might be, will this property be leased to Troy Junior Baseball? And what are the terms of that lease going to be? Are they going to be responsible for the maintenance of that entire field or that group of fields? So to answer your question, we don't know yet, really, because we don't know what our responsibilities will be as a park department. We anticipate there'll be some, but we don't know to what extent.
Okay, thank you.
Mrs. Zoda?
So we're going to ask for a levy for something we don't know how we're going to maintain? That's a question.
Right. Questions or?
Well, I think it's it's a valid question. It's a discussion that we've already started, and we started that at the same time as we've been discussing the capital portion of it. But, you know, which comes first? It's difficult to, you know, to have any kind of agreement in place when you don't know what kind of improvements may or may not be able to be done there and what the scope of those improvements are. There are a lot of parts that still need to be figured out. That's true. We know that the park department and the amount of parkland and the amount of maintenance has been growing. Part of this project is to move the park maintenance building away from the arena and put it into Duke Park, which should help a little bit and make them a little bit more efficient. That should help. But as Mr. Capper said, part of the discussions that we've had with the stakeholders as we've been moving forward is somebody's got to take care of this. We understand that it'll probably be at least partially, the city and the city staff, and we'll be looking at the staffing needs there. We're not talking about having to double the size of the park department, but
How many employees are in the park department now?
6 or 8, somewhere in that area. I don't have an exact
Jeremy, how
number.
many employees do we have? 6 full-time, seasonal, 4.
And I think, Robin, that's what we're here for tonight, is to determine whether we want to move forward with this. So that's why we're having this meeting and trying to understand the project. Okay, down to the table. Mr. Fox, any questions right now?
Yeah, my question is, there's a large number of grants and foundation money, $940,000 and $4 million. What happens, that's about 30% of the money. What happens if the levy doesn't, or if we don't get that amount and we have the levy money? How does that work?
If we got the levy money but we don't get the donations, we would have to either scale the project back or somehow rescind the levy. That, you know, remains to be seen. Another option or another possibility would be that we receive the donated and the private money, the non-levy money, and we don't, and the levy doesn't pass. At which point, then we'd have to look at what we do with the private donations and probably give it back. And when I say we, I don't mean the city, I mean the stakeholders. And so if they've got a different idea, I don't want to.
Or scale the project back?
As much as we can. You know, we're talking about a 9-field complex. And as you look at that chart over there, you can see, or the design there, That is actually designed that in the future it could grow to 12 fields from the 9. Originally, all in, best case scenario, it was a 12-field complex. And so we scaled that back with our architect to say what is reasonable and not going full bore. So how much more you could scale it back before it becomes less capacity than what's out at Newp Field, there's not very much of a gap there to understand.
Do you have anything further, Mr. Fox?
No.
Mrs. Pierce?
I think my big question was the maintenance, but we won't know that until it gets started. My other question is priority. What do we do first? Do we have a priority list established? We've got the land, but now we got to get the money to start. So, do we have a priority list?
No, we don't. Well, and I don't know that this was presented as an overall recreational plan. So if things have to be scaled back, what we would want to do or what we would recommend would be that we would be prorating it back between all of the projects. We don't want to say that one is more important than the other, even though one is much higher percentage. Well, I think ultimately it would probably fall to the council because, first of all, it's our land. Second of all, the financing would be over a 10-year period, and so that would require council action to do that.
Okay. Anything further right now? Okay. Mr. Cappers?
I've got a number of questions. Number one, I'm not familiar with all the stakeholders involved. Who are the participants in Midwest Ohio Baseball?
To my understanding, that is a for-profit organization that provides advanced opportunities for the athlete that is positioned to take advantage of them. So Troy Junior Baseball serves the citywide community as a whole, and we welcome all comers to our organization.
Okay, you just had a nerve there.
Mr. Westfall is in the audience, and I think he can answer that for us.
Midwest Ohio Baseball consists of approximately 275 select baseball teams throughout the Miami Valley, 3,800 kids, and about 13,000 games per year. Right now, presently, I think Troy Junior Baseball has approximately 10 in our league playing.
10 members?
10 teams.
10 teams?
Yes.
All
Various ages, all the way from 8 to 14.
Okay. Now, Mr. Felton indicated it was for-profit.
It is a limited liability corporation. Each individual team comes in separately. They're all individual entities. Midwest Ohio Baseball has, and I've made this very clear, Midwest Ohio Baseball has no need for fields being built. We do not, our coaches and teams come to us with their own playing capability. Of course, this makes it easier for Troy Junior Baseball or other organizations to play on those fields. Where Midwest Ohio Baseball becomes an asset with the president and the controlling interest of the organization being a Troy person and a developer in Troy, is that we have the capability of being a mechanism that if there's a desire to bring a large tournament, whether it be regional or national, we can bring those numbers very easily to the community and would be happy to do so. We've utilized other facilities throughout the Miami Valley to run our own individual end of the season tournament, whether it be down at Tip City or Kettering or Centerville or other private fields.
Do those other fields charge you rent for those tournaments then?
We primarily, a few of them do, but there's also a tremendous amount of impact from a concession stand. They want the concession business. But yes, we have rented fields to accomplish tournaments in the past, and that would be an option here.
And are you the only owner of Midwest Ohio Baseball?
At this time, yes.
Thank you. And a couple other questions. What are you going to tell people that in your presentation you're saying that some, or I don't know how many, some of the participants in these programs are not residents of the city of Troy, and yet you're asking the landowners in the city of Troy to spend money to improve the parks so that they can play in the parks?
Sure.
What do we say to those people?
Well, what we see is a very small, minute percentage in my 2 years of involvement with Troy Junior Baseball to where individuals from Miami East and Piqua, as an example, will come to us and ask if their young athlete could participate in our organization. So we're here to serve those needs, and our typical response is, to my understanding, has been yes. We're willing to accommodate those individuals. There could be obviously a multitude of reasons why they've reached out to Troy Junior Baseball at that level and with that type of request. I don't know all the particulars, but I just know that there's 8 to 12-year-old players that want to be part of something, and we have that opportunity to make that happen. And that's the best I could answer that.
Okay. Mr. Hobart?
Well, thank you, Madam President. I'm not sure where this really falls into under the Troy Recreation Department specifically. I would like to ask Mr. Seiler if there's anything in these proposals that would directly impact the Recreation Department and our staff.
We are finding a continued growth in soccer field usage. We're having a challenge with continuing to provide enough soccer fields for not specifically just the Troy Recreation Department programs, but also Say Soccer, which is also a recreational-based program, in addition to the Troy Select Soccer Club, which provides a select soccer opportunity for youth in our community as well. So we're struggling significantly with the number of soccer fields, so the addition of those 3 fields at the south end of Duke Park would help tremendously. Jeremy may be able to respond more related to the maintenance side of things, but because of the fact that we do have a shortage in the number of fields, it creates more of a burden in terms of continuing to maintain those fields at a level that's acceptable because of the significant amount of play that they're getting. Related to the baseball piece of it, directly under the Troy Recreation Department, we operate the youth softball program for girls, grades kindergarten through 8th grade. And we use currently the fields at Duke Park, as well as the one field over at North Market Street. It is a significant challenge to fit our schedule on those 4 fields when they are also used for a significant amount of other uses. Adult softball leagues, Troy schools utilize those fields as well during the spring times for all of their spring offerings between their baseball and softball programs. So the addition of these fields will help not only our in-house programs, but also all of the other outside user groups that we take facility use requests from, or field use requests from, to be able to accommodate those. There seems to be a continuing growth in the number of requests that we're getting for field use for both baseball, softball, and soccer.
Thank you. I have nothing else, Madam President. Although I would like to maybe, if we go to Mr. Doug Jackson, I believe he has a commitment he has to leave for.
Oh, sure. We can do that. Mr. Jackson?
Thank you, Madam President. Just a few comments and questions. Thank you for representing such a large group of people. It does concern me that there's not the other stakeholders present. There's one person for such a large and diverse group of interests that are there. But
I think, yeah.
represented, thank you.
Jackson, I could talk to that.
I think there are, excuse me, yeah, just, yeah. I think there are some others in the audience here that we have, you know, that haven't needed to respond yet, but there are some others here that are represented.
Are there any groups outside of the organization that is representing this that are opposed to this that we're aware of?
That's a good question. I don't know anyone opposition to the proposal.
Is there any, and I know that it'll open to public comment perhaps later in the meeting, but
Right.
I'm interested as to other groups that are represented in the audience that may not be in full alignment with the proposal, but that'll come in due time, I suppose.
Yeah, I don't see. If anyone in the audience would like to comment to that question, is there anyone here that's opposed to the project? It's in the audience tonight. Okay, thank you.
The driving range field, is that in risk of flooding there?
Jeremy?
I've never seen that underwater. Even the water we had last May of 15, that was never underwater. To my knowledge, the channels were
There's
there.
there's a channel, and then there's a big
pretty
basin.
good levee, and it never got close to the water that levee onto the driving range.
Okay. Thank you.
I think the rest of my questions have been answered. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mrs. Snipes?
Listen, I don't think so at this time. There's
Okay.
a lot of evidence from the way.
All right.
So thank you.
Mr. Dunn?
Is this appropriate time to ask the logistics of why we're here?
Certainly. We are here tonight for the Recreation Board and the Park Board to provide a recommendation to council whether to move forward with the project or not, and then council, in turn, will make a decision or decide to table it, whatever they decide to do with it at that point.
Okay, so as a member of the Recreation Board, I guess I would echo what Mrs. Otis said was, I've seen this for about 48 hours now, and to be asked to make a recommendation to ask the citizens of Troy to spend, unfortunately, I've had plenty of experience with levies, and it's not something that's particularly pleasant, but as I have the information in front of me now, it makes me nervous that we're having this discussion, and I'm going to be asked to make a recommendation to City Council. So I guess, not that I'm opposed to any of this, but I'm ignorant of most of it at this point. So I guess my question is, this seems to really be on a fast track. So why are we on such a fast track? Why can't we who are making recommendation have some time to figure out what this is all about?
And, well, I'll let Mr. Titterington, if you can explain why this is on a fast track, but also to let you know that your recommendation can be negative. It does not have to be a positive recommendation.
You could ignore,
And council can also do that as well, or if council decides to go for further study. But first of all, there is a timeline involved in order to get this on the ballot for November. So, do you want to address what?
And that was the preference of the stakeholder group. And so working our way backwards and talking with the county election board, because there are two pieces of legislation that need to be submitted, as you're probably well aware. The decision was to have this work session, this discussion tonight. That just worked for everybody's schedule.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Herman?
Mine's probably more comments along the same line. I mean, I come out of the different world, and I haven't seen this very much to even look at it, to even know what the numbers mean to begin with. And two, it seems like there's a lot of questions. And in my world, I know it's different, but if I had that many questions, we'd be talking long before we got some of them solved. But I think it looks like a good project, and obviously we would use it.
I just think there was a lot of, as we went around the room, there seemed to be a lot of questions and not a lot of responses to them of an answer.
Thank you. Any further questions down here? No. Any other council members have any further, did anything generate? Mr. Schweizer?
Yes, ma'am. When do we have to have a decision on getting onto the ballot? Isn't that the end of July?
No, I didn't.
I'll try to get that answer here for you. Any further? Mr. Kendall?
Yes, I do. I guess maybe I'm the only one not getting, I'm still a little bit confused with this Operation Recreation 2020. I understand what they're trying to do, but, and then I hear, someone else is out raising funds and all that. What, is that a part of this committee? Is it a part of another committee, or is there another group that's leading this group?
Well,
If I might answer that.
Mr. Phillips?
The stakeholder here, representatives that are all here in the audience tonight, all of these stakeholders make up the fundraising committee. As I indicated, Mr. Jim Taylor has kind of offered to be the unofficial chair of the fundraising committee.
Good choice.
And he and this group of folks are compiling their list of potential donors, and they will be the ones doing the marketing, if you will, and reaching out to potential donors and raising the funds. And that's why an account has been opened at Troy Foundation to be able to accept all of those funds. All of the most of the organizations here are either 501c3 or LLC type things, but to prevent any arguing over money, if money came into one organization, came into the next organization, came into the next organization, and then each individual organization writing checks off of money that they may receive in the future. That was why it was indicated to domicile a checking account at the Troy Foundation so that all money could be directed there, accounted there, and dispersed there back to the city once it was raised.
Okay. And the is it the Field of Dreams?
Miracle League.
Miracle League.
Yes.
Okay. That is not part of this, though.
We are, but again, we're not looking to derive any money directly from the levy. So we're looking to raise our own money within this group as an addition, I guess, or an unnamed organization attached to it to help them raise money and work with that group to raise the total that they're targeting.
All right.
Madam Chair. Madam Chair, just
Mr.
to clarify
Chairman.
a few things related to timing and all the effort that's gone on from what we understand, because we've been kind of involved, but kind of not. I know that's real simple. We've provided as much of the information, the background data, and the staff support that we could on the estimates of the numbers, knowing what the buildings and the assets are like, what we think needs to be done. We, of course, engaged in the consultants, and so those are the numbers that you've seen. We talked about that. Let's keep in mind that if we go back a little bit, one of the primary drivers of this effort was the fact that we purchased the farm now known as Duke North. That purchase was made possible by a significant grant by the Duke Foundation and the Robinson Foundation, in addition to partnering with the Miami County Park District to use some ODNR money, Ohio Department of Natural Resources money, to purchase some passive land along the river and make some utilization of the floodplain area. That was an additional $240,000. So we have gotten underwritten a large majority of that Duke North portion that is being combined into to the existing Duke Park. That farm purchase was initiated through discussions with representatives of the grants, representatives of the baseball folks, the various stakeholders related to baseball, and it was made necessary because of all of the issues that have been ongoing for a decade, longer, at the new fields, which my understanding was were donated by the farmer. It's also my understanding, to go back to Mr. Terwilliger's earlier question, that those fields become abandoned. It's my understanding, and I know Scott is in the audience, that I believe that there is a reversion clause that goes back to the county park district.
That is correct. In the deed, that if the Troy Junior Baseball would ever vacate those premises, the park district would take ownership of those lands. And our board has been involved from the beginning, obviously with the partnership with Purchase, and are very aware and are very excited that if this happens, we'd be able to take over that property, clean it up, and make a conservation of a floodplain as it is intended to be, to protect the river. So,
Thank you.
And so to redevelop, to create a complex of 9 to 12 to 13 fields is not something that happens overnight. Baseball's obviously seasonal. So part of the urgency of getting it on the ballot earlier than later is you lose an entire year if you wait until the next year. The stakeholders were concerned about that because they have gone to, as Mr. Felton mentioned, they've gone to their various private funding sources time and again, because every time it floods, it wipes out fences, it wipes out fields, it wipes out dirt, everything. And it's tens of thousands of dollars to repair and replace assets out there. So that's part of what has driven that committee to come to us and want to get this accomplished in November. To answer your question, these are estimated dates, Mr. Swayzer. I believe it was you that asked this question related to getting it on the ballot. My recollection is to be on the ballot in November. You have to have the legislation effective and certified to the County Park Board by the middle of August. I want to say either August 10th or August 15th, somewhere in that area. We, of course, will have that date and beat it by a couple of days just to be safe. Backing up from there to allow 30 days effective date in the event that council wouldn't want to do this as an emergency, and also to allow for up to 3 readings. That's another six weeks prior to that. Just the 30-day window is towards the end of July, third week in July. And then that puts you into the middle of May if you want to do 3 readings on the final piece of legislation. The first piece of legislation is that you would ask the county election board to give you the amount of millage that would be required to generate X amount every year. They are the only ones that determine the actual millage that is to be placed in the ballot. That's a very quick turnaround, and then the final piece of legislation would be for the council to place the question on the ballot. My understanding is the stakeholders, my conversations with them have been that they are asking for the council to put that language on the ballot, to get that issue on the ballot. Would they like to have a unanimous, overwhelming, flag-waving recommendation for this? Certainly. But they recognize that this is their request, their project, their issue. Of course, we would be intimately involved in the construction and the implementation of this, of course, but that's what they're asking, and that's why the timeline is the way it is.
So this is a 2-step process. The first step is to give administration the permission to go ask and then to actually have it put on the ballot?
Actually, the first step is that with the numbers that have been generated here, you would have to pass a resolution to the park board, to the election board, asking them to to give you the amount of millage that would be required to generate that amount. They can do that because they have the most current assessed value, and they do the official numbers. That is, the turnaround time is just a matter of days. And then the final piece of legislation is that legislation that would put it on the question on the ballot in November.
Madam President?
Yeah, I just want to make sure.
County auditor.
Okay. Mr. Terwilliger?
What other community issues do we have coming on the November? What's out there that's...
I'm not aware of any that are coming up.
It's a little early yet to tell, but I don't think there's any other park levies. There's no school issues on the ballot in November. It's the presidential election, so that's going to bring out more people. So, yeah, I don't think there's any other levy issues. Okay. I have a couple other questions. When we, the city, first purchased the Holzkamp property, at least some of us were under the impression that this would be a phased project, or at least it wouldn't be done all at the same time. Was that method of development even explored as to do this in smaller amounts?
We discussed it. We discussed it with the architect. First of all, I don't recollect any kind of phasing discussion because at the time we bought the farm, we did not have any kind of designs, any kind of estimate on what kind of costs there would be, what the best design would be, what the supporting infrastructure costs might be either. That was the next phase, if you will. What is proposed, the 9 fields that you see, really would be phase 1. Phase 2 may or may not be done when it would expand into a bigger complex with the additional 3 ball fields. But to try to phase it smaller than the 9 fields would not support the operations that are going on at Newp. I believe Newp is 8 fields right now. And so that would be a step back for them and for baseball really in Troy. And as I mentioned earlier, the economies of scale, they just don't work because you still need so much asphalt and so much parking. And if you try to do that in phases, the incremental costs go up quite a bit.
Okay. And the vision indicates $1,860,000 in city funds, not counting the levy. Where do we propose to get this money?
Some of it's already been spent. The acquisition of the land has already been spent. $200,000 has been appropriated in this year's budget for the utility expansions. Any of the remainder of that would be come out of general fund revenues or resources funds over a period of whatever time, 2, 5, 10 years, whatever matches or is shorter than what a bond would be.
Okay. Are there any further questions from anyone here?
I have a question, Madam President.
Mrs. Zoda.
I feel a little sorry for the Troy Senior Citizens Center. You guys, I see you out there. It almost feels like you guys have been an afterthought, and maybe you guys got attached to this, and maybe, I don't know how long you've been a part of this as a stakeholder. And so maybe these were thrown in, you guys in the golf course, to try and get this in on a levy. And the major part of this is the baseball fields. There's really not much discussion. So if this fails because of this huge amount for the baseball diamonds, the Senior Citizen Center and the golf course get hurt and get left out of that. So is there any other plan if this fails to help the Senior Citizen Center or the golf course with their updates? I don't know who I'm asking that to.
I don't either. I mean, as I mentioned earlier, Mrs. Oda, we have to look at what resources are available and what we can accomplish. And if everybody is all in on this and the stakeholders are the ones that are asking for this, all of them, not just the baseball or the softball or whoever, then as we have to scale it back, as to reiterate the answer to Mrs. Pierce's question earlier, you know, our priority or our recommendation to you would be to scale all of it back. Short of this kind of breakdown, this kind of partnership, any future work would have to be done out of general fund revenues and resources.
Just kind of feels like they got tagged onto this and they didn't really have any other option but to say, yeah, well, involve us with
well,
the levy.
I don't think that's fair, but I guess we can debate that. You know, I think that another way of looking at it, frankly, as we went out and we assessed their building is that, and I think the park department would agree, through the years we have not neglected the Senior Citizen Center. We don't think. We have kept their HVAC systems updated. Their roof is in relatively good shape, but it is aging, and if the opportunity is there to change it to replace it with a very low maintenance metal roof that will integrate the entire roof structure, then now would be the time to do that. Short of doing a significant expansion project, which would take a lot more time, a lot more architecture work, and probably a lot more permitting, because it does get close to the levee, and there's some elevation changes. When we went out with staff and with leadership of the Senior Citizen Center, there weren't big ticket items out there that are in need. So yeah, it's a small amount, but it's not like they were the stepchild, as I think you're implying.
It just feels a little bit like they were just an afterthought and got added to this to make it a complete recreational levy.
Well, it certainly would make sense to do it if we're going to do a levy, then to leave them out, since they are a recreational asset.
Sure, if you're going to call it Operation Recreation.
If they're a quality of life amenity. As far as the golf course, the clubhouse has been an issue for a number of years. Over 10 years ago, I think there was some discussion about either replacing or significantly renovating that building. Nothing has been done. It's 1949. I think it was expanded in the 80s, maybe. It's very, very dated.
That's kind of
I don't think $1 million is an insignificant amount of money. Certainly appears to be next to a brand new baseball complex or development of Duke Park, but it is what it is.
Can I ask what the 2020 is for? Is that when this is anticipated to be done?
That was just a number that we kind of kicked around. I would hope that we would have it done by then. I certainly think that these projects can be done in that time frame if this track is if this time frame is continued or maintained.
That's all.
All right. Mr. Cappers.
I can make just a couple comments. Number one, the benefits of the levy goes towards helping reduce the negative impact it might have on our general fund. The Senior Citizen Center needs a new roof. The golf course, the clubhouse is dated. We need to do locker rooms out there in the golf course for a longer time. the kitchen and freezer area for the meats and things that the dining hall out there accommodate need to be expanded. We're trying to increase the amount of traffic we have out there. We did put a station out there for the bikers and walkers on the levee. We hopefully will traffic, not a lot of foot traffic, but some anyway. So I see this levee as a real benefit to it. In addition to that, we've got to keep in mind that Troy Junior Baseball was at one time a child of the Recreation Department. The baseball in this town used to be the Recreation Department. Mr. Simon, I hope I'm saying that right, that your predecessors used to go ahead and take care of the baseball program in the city of Troy using the school baseball diamonds as the place where this was being undertaken. Once they developed into the field, there was a nonprofit board set up for the purpose and took it over. So now we're attempting to welcome that home. Thank you.
Okay.
Yes,
Mr. Heath.
Madam President. I think I saw this somewhere, but I can't seem to find it now. How much is this levy going to cost the property owners per 100,000?
Approximately $70, a little less.
$70 per year per 100,000.
That's correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Any further questions around the table? Anyone else? Any questions or comments? Anyone in the audience have any questions at this point? Okay, then we are going to turn the meeting over to the Board of Park Commissioners, and they will proceed with their agenda.
Mrs. Mack, are you prepared to take minutes for the park?
Absolutely.
Would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Cappers.
Here.
Mrs. Pierce.
Here.
Mr. Fox.
Here.
All members are present.
Well, thank you very much. First matter that comes before the commission is the consideration of a non-use agreement for the concert stranger at Treasure Island Park. This is in line with the two other contracts that are last meeting. Mr. Terrington, did you have anything?
It is identical to the Beach Boys concert. That's correct. Yes, not the actual Beach Boys, but the tribute. Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. We approved that without any problem with the last meeting. Do you want to have any questions concerning this? No. I'll entertain a motion to approve. Second. Approve in a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? It's adopted. Next matter on our agenda is a recommendation of the Troy City Council regarding this Operation Recreation 2020. Any discussion on this issue?
I'd just like to follow up on, I think it's a good plan, it's needed, but I think there needs to be prioritization of the infrastructure should we not raise the total cost of the $14.3 million. There's a lot of different stakeholders, and if some fundraising is done by one stakeholder versus the other, and maybe they get shortchanged in the final decision. So I think of prioritization, if we don't receive it, should be done.
Okay. Do you have any thoughts?
I agree. I think maybe we should do a little tweaking before it's done. Do I feel some of the organization and some of the what ifs need to be answered.
What kind of what ifs are we looking at? So that we need to know what your concerns are, so that we can address those if we don't take action.
For instance, what if we don't get all the money? What are we going to do if we do have the levy and the levy fails? And priority list, that sort of thing. I kind of feel that.
I can answer a couple of those for you. Okay. Number one, the charitable donations that individuals or granting companies or other partners might be making don't even come to us. Okay. So that's not for us to determine as to what happens with those funds. That's between the person who's giving the money and the person they're giving it to. Now, they're indicating that they're going to put that in a pot together with the city funds are going to be donated. Does anybody know that if there is a levy and the money's not used, I used to be on the agricultural center board, but I understood that the money was never used. It was, the levy was taken off the taxpayers' rolls. Is that something you guys think about that? I'm not hearing anybody know.
I'm sorry, your question is if we collect a levy and that levy is not then utilized, we will check the mechanism, the exact mechanism, but my understanding is that there is a way to rescind that levy and either return or not collect that levy, but we can get the legal mechanism.
That's what I thought happened. Eric, you guys have any input on that? You ever lost some well, my concerns come in the next phase. The first phase, as I see it, is the phase of getting the levy posted, getting the monies to make the improvements, and then what do we do with all these stakeholders and these partners? They don't get to play on those fields until we have some issues resolved. And those issues include the maintenance of the facilities. Do we need to enter into a lease? What else do we need to do out there? Those are questions that are down the pike once the money's available to go ahead and make improvements. We've sat on the Dave property for decades. Okay, we used to get a little bit of income out of the farming of that. We've needed that developed. We don't have the money to develop that. We need some improvements out of the Gulf shores of the golf course. Senior citizens need a new brook. There's money that's going to be coming out of this levy that's going to address those, that we won't have this impact on, negative impact on the general operating. Once the levy is approved, then we need to make sure that all the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted with the stakeholders. I have some more questions to the stakeholders as to what's going to end up happening for use of these facilities. But I don't know that now is necessary to have those answers.
Okay, so is it normal business to go ahead with the levy and then solve the problems as you go?
Well,
is that what normally happens?
As I was hearing, that there is a mechanism to refund those monies if the levy is adopted. If the levy is adopted and we don't get enough money from the private sector in this partnership to go ahead and do what we want to do, and we don't want to scale it back, then once again, it's like we haven't used those levy monies in the return. That's what I'm understanding can be done.
Another concern I have is there's 8 or 9 fields at Nuke. We're proposing approximately the same number here. And if we have to scale it back, how does that go into it? Is it worth building half of this project if that's all the money's there for?
That's a good question. We have fields out there now that could be
right
scheduled to what? That just is a little more of a headache for Mr. Seiler's department to go and schedule these things. I don't have any answer to that.
And part of scaling back, if I may, Mr. Chair, is with this new complex, the fact that they are just about equal in the number of fields, there still would be a benefit to the baseball organizations because, first of all, they're elevated. They shouldn't flood nearly as much. Second of all, the 7 fields on the north side, as I'm looking at the design, will have lighting included as part of this plan, which means that they will be able to play on those fields longer. In addition, we will have conduits so that as we expand and eventually put the other 2 fields in, that pod of 4 on the south side would then be able to be lit as well. So there are some incremental benefits to just moving and having the same number of fields if we add those particular components to that project. And those are the kind of things that, if we really had to, those could be the first things that we scale back. Include the conduit, don't include the lighting, so at least, in the future, as the money became available, we could add lighting without digging up the fields. Things like that would save us some money, not a lot, but some.
I also want to mention that one of the things that I'm looking forward to, if this is passed, is that we get 2 other entrances to Duke Park. And I think the traffic flow out there is horrendous. You know, thank goodness it's there, but at the same time, there'll be a lot better traffic flow running around those soccer fields.
Well, the project as a whole, I'm all for, because that's why we bought the land. That was our, the dream to put the baseball, softball, soccer, and we might even stick something else in there, you never know. But I just want to make sure as we're going forward that we're careful.
Sure. Well, this plan also calls for a new park department building, taking it away from where the Hobart Arena currently has it. And we're a little bit out of space over there. And puts us more centrally located in our biggest park in the system.
The other question I have is, and maybe I'm too hung up on the unknown of the grants and foundations and private pledges, is that seems almost $5 million, and I wrote down that there's approximately $60,000 that's already been raised, so that's quite an amount here. Should the levy portion be higher? Because again, like Ms. Pierce, I'm for this project. I think that's just a large unknown. And how, if we need to, would it be better to go about a higher number for the levy right now? And if you get the grants and the private pledges, let those make up some of that. And I don't know, then can that go to the general fund, the excess from the levy? I think it would be hard to approve this levy and then say we need $2 or $3 million more 2 years down the road and ask for another levy at that point.
That wouldn't happen. You know, if we get the levy, then we're going to have to do it and make sure we know what amount is pledged from the private sector to go towards what our goals are here. If I were to say anything at all, I think that the committee has met and talked to their patrons, and they're real comfortable with those figures. That's my understanding. That's what was presented to me in the past. You got to start someplace. I don't think the private donations want to go ahead and donate a whole lot of money if they don't know the city is going to be backing it. I think the city has heard through the committee that they are pretty confident that they're going to be able to raise this type of dollars. You got to start someplace.
Yeah, it's kind of chicken or the egg situation we're in right now.
Any further questions or discussion? We then have been asked to go ahead and make a recommendation to City Council on behalf of the Board of Park Commissioners to recommend a park and recreation levy of $2 million. We want to take any action.
I'll move that we recommend to the council to go forward
With a $2 million levy. Is there a second to that motion? As chair on a 3-person board, I'm allowed to second that, so I'll second it. But is there any further discussion? Mrs. Knight, would you call the roll?
Mrs. Pierce?
Yes.
Mr. Fox?
Yes.
Mr. Cappers?
Yes.
Motion is passed, unanimous vote.
Mrs. Knight, would you report to the President of Council that the Park Board has made a positive recommendation on a $3 million
Yes.
levy? Any further action to be taken before the Park Commission? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Mrs. Knight, please reflect that the Park Board has ceased its meeting.
Thank you. Your meeting is adjourned.
We will move then into their Troy Recreation Board meeting with Mr. Hobart.
I'll call this meeting of the Troy Recreation Board to order, and I will ask the same of Mrs. Knight as Mr. Cappers did, if she will be willing to take the minutes. And
Yes, sir.
if she can also call the roll for us.
Mr. Hobart?
Yes.
Mr. Dunn?
Here.
Mrs. Snipes? Mr. Jackson? Mr. Herman?
Yes.
4 members are present. You have a quorum.
Thank you. Is there any discussion for the rec board before we entertain or do anything with indication of support for this project. Personally, I feel it is a very good project. I drive by the new fields and do park frequently, and there's a lot of usage out there in the spring, summer, and fall. And as we heard Mr. Seiler mention earlier, that the recreation department has had issues with scheduling and making sure you have enough practice fields and games and the like for everyone involved with those areas. Any questions or comments for the board?
Yes. I know there were people who say this isn't unusual for me, but I'm kind of ignorant about this whole process. I'm being asked to make a recommendation to put a levy on the ballot of 2 mills, and that's based on the fact that we have private pledges of $4 million in the world of trying to get private pledges paid. That seems like an exorbitant amount of money. So I guess my concern is that I'm being asked to recommend to the city council to put a levy on the ballot, and I really have no way of knowing if 2 mills can even come close to doing what we needed to do. I'm not in any way opposed to the project and what I've seen. Baseball fields are in floodplain, so it makes sense to move it out of the floodplain. But there's a big difference between being in favor of the project and then asking voters to tax themselves when I'm not sure in any way, shape, or form if this is the right amount of money or if it's going to do what we need it to do. So,
This is nice.
I agree with Tom. I have a lot of friends who are my age and older who would look at this and think that that's a lot of money. It's a lot of money. And I won't be able to answer that question. Because I don't know enough yet about this.
Yeah, I think it's a good project. I just think there's a lot of questions that I don't know, and a lot of questions aren't answered. A lot of more discussions have to take place. And it's just, I would have a hard time putting a levy out there and having all these questions. I would just struggle with that. And what if it doesn't happen what it's supposed to be? Then my credibility is not very good either because I supported the whole thing. And that's kind of important. So.
Does the recreation board feel we should make a positive recommendation or communicate positive support to city council on? I think there's a lot more information that needs to be determined. But I think in general, the sort of sense I'm getting is that yes, we do feel it could be a beneficial project, but there are questions that need to be answered. Would anyone like to make a motion in support of this project? If I'm not doing anything, I will make a motion that the Recreation Board indicate support for this project. It's not a formal recommendation. I think we need to make a notation that we feel there does need to be a lot more investigation and that information given out to the board to take over. Second.
So the motion fails for lack of second. Okay.
Okay, that's all that we were supposed to look at tonight. Is our motion for recreation board to adjourn? Second? Did you have a second?
Second.
Those in favor, signify by saying aye. Those opposed? Thank you all. We are adjourned.
So there's a recommendation from the Board of Park Commissioners to proceed, and there is no motion at all or recommendation of support from the Recreation Board.
Legally, do we need both boards to recommend?
No.
No, okay. I'll call this meeting again of City Council then to order. And do we need another roll call?
Just a roll call vote?
Do we need, do we need another roll
No.
call? For?
No.
Okay. So Council Committee, first of all, my question is, are you prepared to make a decision, or shall we have another further meeting or request further discussion? Is the first question, if there's any comments or...
I would motion to request further communication and some of these questions that we have to be answered.
Second. I would second that.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded, moved by Mr. Heath and seconded by Mr. Schweizer to set up another meeting at a future date for further discussion of this. Mrs. Knight, please call the roll.
Mrs. Oda?
Yes.
Mr. Tremblay?
Yes.
Mr. Heath?
Yes.
Mr. Schweizer?
Yes.
Mrs. Snee?
Yes.
Mr. Kendall?
Yes.
Mr. Phillips?
Yes.
Mr. Terwilliger?
Yes.
The motion is adopted.
Okay. Mrs. Knight, is there any further business?
No, ma'am, there's not.
Council tonight? Okay, I appreciate everyone's attendance and appreciate the effort that's gone into the project at this point. I will say at this point that it's probably not a done deal, but we will have further discussions. So, thank you all for attending tonight's meeting. The meeting is